Well, welcome, Julie. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Can you tell us what you do here at Sherman?
Sure, I do so many things. But the most important, I think, is probably HR. When I first came to Sherman, it was as Devin's assistant. And because he, I guess, had a mess of a desk, and Steve said, "You need somebody to help you." So he called me, and I came in, and that was 2 years ago. And he said, "Yeah, you're going to just kind of organically find your way in the company." And I'm like, "Oh, well, that's cool," because usually I've worked at these Fortune 500 companies that, you're pigeonholed into what you were hired for, and that's what you did. And
Yeah.
maybe you got, promoted along the way, but Sherman's very unique in that aspect.
Steve likes to hire the person and find where they fit, and I've always liked that. He hires for the person.
Sure.
He's done that with quite a few people.
Yeah, and I just, when I come, I had like over 30 years of experience with different work, always and like an admin type assistant to executives. And also I assisted like a human resources manager who was over the line at clinic, actually, the whole system. So I kind of shadowed under her for HR stuff. But so I've had like a really good opportunity learning a lot over the years, and I've done like IT stuff and HR, programming. It's just been a lot of different things, and then painting, doing my own business also. So I thought, oh, I wonder what I'll be doing for Sherman, and it just has kind of evolved into HR actually. Probably because of my past skills in helping people and helping write manuals and policies and safety kind of stuff. And so I have such a mixed bag that it's been very helpful. And OSHA stuff too. So it just kind of graduated into this. So it was kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, we definitely appreciate what you do because I do not want to be the HR person or write those manuals, that is for sure. But speaking of HR, so how is it being the HR person at a company that has kind of paved the way for risque marketing slogans?
I actually was kind of wondering how that would work here.
Uh-huh.
And because I do like the slogans and the messaging, and I think it's kind of cool. I've heard a lot of good things, but working in HR in the past and seeing all the lawsuits and stuff that I've been kind of around,
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking, I wonder if that's going to happen or if this is going to be issues, but nobody has an issue here. I mean, even like the employees, they get along so good.
Yeah.
There's not like these little civil wars going on or these little silos of people can't talk to each other.
Yeah.
It's very refreshing, actually.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's just, and it gives you a sense of more peace, actually, working here.
Yeah.
And even though they are family members here,
Uh-huh.
but in general, the employee population is just so chill.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
they're very dedicated, too. It's not like they're chilling slackers and like deadbeats.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're hard workers. So
Absolutely.
they don't have the issues with HR. So my HR role is more like administrative stuff, helping with payroll, benefits,
Yeah.
hiring. There's not a whole lot of firing.
Exactly.
And what there is, and the people just realize it's their fault, and they, for the most part,
Mm-hmm.
and they leave. And that could change when we grow,
Mm-hmm.
There's always issues when you grow with a company, but I am so thankful that it's very easy right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the marketing has not done anything to change that. Like as far as with dealing with the public and people coming in,
Uh-huh.
they're excited about the marketing. They're like, "Oh, I saw that sign. It's so awesome." And
Yeah.
I love it. So, I haven't really received any complaints on my end.
Good.
And the employees, too. It could come from employees. Maybe employees say, well, that's funny, but I don't really like that. And we don't get that from people here.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
And if it was, I would think that the management, if there was such an outcry that it was, scandalous or somebody didn't like something, they would just take it down.
Yeah.
I mean, they were respectful in that
Exactly.
way.
Yep.
But the marketing works. I mean,
It
people come
does.
in and they're like, yeah, I saw your advertisement and I want a building.
Exactly. And then the same day they get a shirt.
Right,
That
right.
says that has that. Then they're walking
Right.
billboard. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that you started as Devin's assistant, and Devin is your son-in-law. So what is it like working with your son-in-law?
I wondered how that was going to go, but it's very unique here because there is a lot of friends and family working together, and everyone is very respectful of each other. I don't think they take each other for granted, and which is huge because if you have these expectations, oh, you're going to do this for me and I'm going to tell you what to do because, I've been doing it for years, at home. There isn't that environment. And just like with greeting each other, you're not calling people by mom, dad, or cousin or whatever. You're referring to them by their first name. And I don't know, Devin and I, we just have a really respectful relationship with each other. And me being towards the end of my career too, I just feel like it's an honor for me to put my time and effort and energy into something that's going to benefit, well, not just myself, because of course I'm getting a paycheck, but that it's benefiting my grandchildren and my family and my extended family. So it's kind of cool that I get that opportunity to do that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun.
So we heard that you worked, or allegedly worked, at a place called Mount Weather.
Yeah.
Would you mind giving us a small debriefing on that?
Yeah, I don't know if it's small, but I can kind of elaborate on that. So right out of high school, I worked for the Secret Service, and I worked for them for about a year, and it was with the IT department, and one of the agents in the liaison department came in one night and said, hey, we're hiring somebody at Department of Defense, and it's for this top secret presidential program. And we need an admin. And would you be willing to interview? I can't tell you anything about the job because it's so classified. And I said, sure. And he goes, oh, can you come tonight? And I'm like, oh, okay. And so I had to go to a covert location off-site and met with this guy named Jim Wink, who was in the CIA. And he told me about this program briefly, and he said, I can't tell you much about it, but you'll be, you're not going to be bored here. You're going to have so much to do, and it's going to be so interesting, and you're going to work with all tops of the government, all heads of the government. I'm like, okay, I think that sounds pretty cool. So when I started, this was the time like in 85, 86, and then the Iron Curtain was still up. And so Germany was still split with the wall.
Yep.
And so nuclear bombing was a threat at that time.
Absolutely.
So this program, what they did is they took $10 million from a nuclear sub that was going to be built for the Navy,
Okay.
and they took that money and they made this program. It's a National Program Office.
Okay.
And they, Cheney and Rumsfeld and Reagan were all the owners of this program.
Okay.
And then the guys, when I started work, it was really interesting because it wasn't just like it wasn't just Department of Defense. It was like this General Lang was in charge of it. He's like a 3-star general. And then there was a CIA element, FBI, Secret Service. We had an Air Force colonel that was in the office. There was FEMA, DOJ, NSA, which at the time NSA was like a secret organization, National Security Agency. So they all worked out of this covert location in Crystal City, and our address was the Pentagon. It was like a little office in the Pentagon where one gal worked, and that was it. She just kind of handled anybody who would come in and ask weird questions. So essentially, this program was like a doomsday scenario. event. And you would, you called it Operation, and what they would do is they essentially would page out these heads of government, so president, vice president, I don't know, all the heads of government were involved that were in DC, all actually around the whole United States, because they had separate locations. So you get paged out, you essentially grabbed your bug out bag, you'd get in your car, you go to your mountain, or you'd go to the Pentagon and you'd get helicoptered into the mountain. And then once you got to the mountain, you would go inside. So it was called Special Facility, and it was Mount Weather, which is in Virginia, where I was from. And it was pretty wild because you would go, you'd go down this road, you'd get to the side of this mountain, and there'd be like this huge blast door. Huge, like a tank could fit through this door. And so it's like, all this mechanics, it took a half hour to shut the door.
Oh, man.
So you'd go in on the weekend, we'd have these exercises with all these top government officials, and you'd come in there, the door shuts, and so you're locked in for the weekend. And then it must have been built in the 1950s because it had some really, archaic stuff, like shower heads on the side of the walls. I thought it was really archaic.
Okay.
I guess if you get radiation exposure,
I suppose, yeah.
you go through these shower systems, you change clothes in the side of the cave there, then you'd move into like a observation, like infirmary area, make sure that you weren't radiated. This is if it really happened, where we got bombed. And then they had like a little city under there. So essentially it was a mess hall. There was an infirmary, the morgue. They had a morgue for people because, once you're in there and you're shut in for a year, you're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
You gotta have somewhere.
Is there a barber shop?
I don't know. I never saw a barber shop.
In a nail salon.
Nail salon? Yeah.
If you have nails, well, that's just kidding. Anyway, there was
So would they go practice for the weekend?
Yes.
How
This is,
often?
once a year.
Wow.
Once a year.
Do you
So
think
I
they
got
could tell
to-
their wives,
No,
husbands,
we
families
could
where they
not
were?
tell our families anything.
And you would stay for the
We
weekend?
just said, yeah. We would just say that we have to do work for the weekend. We're going to be in town staying, and if you have to get a hold of me, if it's an emergency, then you call this number. And then there would be somebody answering those calls if there was an emergency. But you weren't allowed to talk about the program. You couldn't tell them what you did for work. It was very kind of made you paranoid, actually.
How many years did you do it?
2 years.
And so for 2 years, you couldn't really tell Daryl much?
Nope.
How did he handle
Just-
that?
He was Marines. He was military, so I think he got it. But yeah, it was difficult. But they did make you very paranoid about talking.
How did you
So,
sleep when you were in there?
Not too bad. I mean, I was like, this is between like 18 and 20 that I worked here. So,
Okay.
you know what I mean? It was I was young, impressionable, ready. You just go with the flow. Nothing really bothered me. But when you're in there, it's like these bunkers, underground bunkers. Like, so picture a pole barn. We have the pole barn business. And it's these long, narrow pole barns with flat roofs.
Okay.
No trusses. So you got these several bunkers you can go into, and they're work bunkers. They're usually set up for communications, because the whole purpose of this program was to be able to communicate with other people around the United States that were also in these underground bunkers. And then you would be there for a year, or whenever the fallout period, they deemed it safe to go outside, and then you would be able to go out and then repopulate the world, or at least the U.S. And then, I mean, they had money down there that was more than Fort Knox. They had more than the money in Fort Knox. And it was in small bills, and it was set up so they could reestablish some kind of monetary system.
No way.
So, I mean, of course, there's going to be bartering and stuff, but they're figuring everyone's dead, essentially, because major cities are going to be hit.
That is crazy.
So they have they had it nailed down for how it would work, but
Was there anybody noteworthy that was down there with you?
I was actually the first exercise. No, I mean Ollie North was down there, so he was kind of noteworthy. And then the general was there, and I don't think any of the Joint Chiefs of Staff were there. But this is when Colin Powell was in office, so all those Joint Chiefs of Staff were a part of the program. And when I had Heather, I went into labor. They had the exercise. So Vice President Bush was there, the senior. He was vice president at the time. He was down there, and a lot more military people. And
When you went into labor?
yeah. So I missed the vice president visit, but it would have been kind of cool. Yeah. So, and then, after the wall came down, I think that was in 91, 2 years after that, this program got disbanded. And then, but during 9/11, they reactivated it. So obviously, people went back into the mountain during 9/11 to be safe until the whole mess happened with all the planes coming down and things getting bombed and Pentagon getting bombed. And so they still kind of used it.
Yeah.
But now so the mountain, from what I understand, is sealed, so no one uses it anymore. Probably Department of Defense still uses it, but the facility up above ground is used to house like the all the tapes and all the digital history documents for the United States is there. So it's kind of cool that they're using it for something.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. I was going to ask, what do you think that they're using it for now? So.
I would think that it would still be there, useful to have as a shelter.
Maybe they could put the Kanabec County History Center records there because
we're important, darn it.
Yeah. Well, because Devin made a big speech at a chamber meeting about how if the History Center gets shut down because of lack of funding, all of those records, they don't just like go to a courthouse or somewhere. They get thrown in the dumpster.
No.
The whole crowd was crying. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, there's someone's got to step up and take that.
So somebody anonymously in Kanabec County, I think, has donated money to keep it going so far.
Sure.
But, okay, it sounds like there's room.
Right. There's a lot of room.
Yeah, cool. Well, and so back to like your first sentence about getting hired in
Secret Service.
Secret Service.
Yeah.
Like, how does someone get hired in the Secret Service?
Oh my, that was a process. So my brother-in-law, my two sisters, and I went down and took the civil service test. It was right out of high school. I'm like, yeah, we want some jobs, the government jobs. So I went down, took that, and then my sister and I got called back for Secret Service. And they interviewed us, and my sister Helen couldn't handle the pressure. So there was 2 agents, and it was like an interrogation. It was like serious interrogation.
I bet.
I mean, it was one whole day, and then I came back, and I had a half a day. And finally, they said, okay, we'll take you. And then they got to go, and they have to interview your neighbors. They interviewed my teachers, because I didn't have work experience that much.
Yeah.
And that took like a month. I guess it cost like $10,000. Back in the 80s, it cost about $10,000 to get a top secret clearance. Wow. And that's what you're waiting for. But in the meantime, okay, so they hire me. They're waiting for my clearance to get done. I mean, I had a week, and they put me in the file room. And here, what am I filing? I'm filing all their stuff, all their agents' stuff. And it was crazy, the stuff I was looking at.
Before being cleared.
Before being cleared.
Wow. But maybe they were testing you to see.
Maybe. I don't know. I doubt it.
Is she writing this stuff down?
This cute
You wouldn't have a phone to take pictures.
Naive girl.
Yeah.
Reading about 10,000 pounds of marijuana in a mine that they found, and I mean, just crazy stuff.
Wow.
I mean, it was just like, wow. Well, they are in drug enforcement and money laundering and counterfeit money. I mean, that's really what the Secret Service was created for initially. what they do now, I have no idea.
Yeah,
no
I would have
idea.
never made it through a day and a half of questions. When I went in Egypt from Israel, like they took you in a room by yourself, separated me from my friends, and asked like 15 minutes worth of questions and like hardcore interrogation about like how you met these people that you're traveling with, what you're actually doing there. I mean, that was super
Yeah.
scary.
Yeah.
So good job getting
Well,
through that.
but what the big thing was drug use. They're like, how many times have you smoked pot in your life, and have you done drugs? And I'm like, well, yeah, I kind of have smoked pot a few times, sure. And so they dug into that. They just like went mad dog on that because they're trying to find out who's distributing, you know. So, and then they wanted to know who all my friends were. And I kind of felt bad because they went back and they met with my friends and they drilled them.
Did any of your friends get mad about it?
Oh, yeah. There's one guy, it was like, I was so nervous. I was like, just tell the truth. I mean, what the heck?
Yeah.
I mean,
You already
we're a bunch of
admitted to
kids in a
smoking
field
weed.
buying weed from whatever.
And picking it in the ditches.
I mean, yeah, it was very interesting.
Yeah, wow.
So, yeah.
Cool.
So it was a good experience. I mean, I had a lot of. I mean, I guess that kind of set the stage for me being a prepper. And I'm not hardcore prepper. I mean, I do being a Christian. I guess I rely on God for a lot of things, but. You know, I'm still ready for that. What the shit hits fan.
I don't see how
moment.
you could not become a prepper after that, after you've been in an underground tunnel for the government. Like, obviously, yeah, if they're
And to
taking
me, I
those
think it's more
precautions,
civil
why shouldn't we?
unrest. I mean, COVID was a big example of that. I mean, I kind of was glad I kind of had some things set up, and it just made it easier not having to go out in public as much. But yeah, I you know, I'm a kind of a prepper.
What was the
Yeah.
food like down there?
They had a big cafeteria. They had a mess hall. And the ladies that worked above ground during the day, because they had some businesses running in that Mount Weather, I think it was a weather station too, those people would come down for that weekend and they would cook for us. So in a scenario, they would be down there, you know, they're part of this, you know, top percentage of the, you know, there's only so many people can fit into there for a year and sustain life. So I'm sure they have their hand-picked list of who makes the cut.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Did you see that movie, Blast from the Past? Did you ever see that?
I haven't, no.
Christopher Walken, I believe, is in it, and Brendan Fraser. And yeah, they're underground for like 30 years.
Oh, I think I did.
It's a comedy,
It's
but
like
it's
a really
cute.
old, like in the 80s,
Has to
right?
be early 90s. I remember
Okay.
seeing it in theaters.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Yeah. No, what the closest thing that I've come to that's looks like that blast door was one of the XXX movies. It was the second one, and they set up this fake scenario in a cafe, and the FBI or whoever it is, CIA probably, take them to this underground bunker, and there's this big door, this big blast door, and that kind of looks like that. I was trying to find it, and I couldn't find it online. But I mean, it's pretty impressive. Like, of course, they glorify it with Hollywood, and you know, they make all this look shiny and nice. Where it's like, yeah, it's not shiny and nice. It's like 50s junk, but I'm sure it does its job. But let's hope it would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So.
that is so cool. Thank you
Yeah.
for sharing that.
Oh,
yeah.
thanks.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to share about that? Any secrets?
Let's see. Yeah, I'm boring now. My life is much more calm, except we did buy a 100-acre farm, and it's going to be the new family compound.
Yes, we will.
I say that jokingly, but the family will be moving
Yeah.
with us.
We're going to have to post some before and after pictures right now.
Oh, yeah, sure.
In the video, how much work you've done.
And then my boss, the CIA agent, he did a video on Mount Weather. That doomsday
we'll put that
video.
in the link.
Yeah, absolutely.
That link
Yeah,
in
Yeah, I
the
it's,
show
gotta
notes.
watch
it's a
it. It was
good.
really interesting.
It's a more of a visual
Yeah.
of kind of what it was like.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll put that in. But also the
So-
hard work that you've been doing at your new property. That's just been crazy. Haunted
Yeah.
house and
could be.
gravestones and
Yeah, we found a grave site on the property, and Hulda. I hang out with Hulda sometimes. I'm out there working. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
it's
been a
pretty
project,
cool.
but we're so excited that you're moving closer to Mora.
Yeah, I know. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be my forever home.
Good.
So, looking forward to it.
Good. Okay, so we do would you rather questions. Would you rather, okay, because our lovely Erin, who usually answers phones, is out right now, so you've been answering a lot of the
Oh,
phones.
yeah.
So, would you rather have to answer the phone, how can I help you with your erection? Or be the face of our Let's Talk Erections TikTok campaign.
Be the face of our erections?
Yeah.
I think I might like that.
Oh, awesome.
I don't know.
We'll have to get that started.
If I had the choice. TikTok. TikTok.
Great.
Yep.
Well,
Awesome.
Duly noted. Duly noted. If that comes to it.
Then bring the HR on right there.
Exactly.
We
Yeah.
might have some problems. It's all in fun, folks.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks so much for coming on.
Yeah.
Okay,
Thanks, Julie. We
Yeah,
appreciate
thanks, you
you.
guys.
Thank you so much for listening in on That's What She Said. If you are as passionate about leadership as I am, I would love to hear from you. Please go to my website at that'swhatsheshed.live to share feedback, ideas, and start the conversation of coming on the show.